Natalie fought with all the business there. Stay with us. We have more business later in the day. Right, for the Election Command Center, some few more days to December 7, and the key day is what all of us are looking up to. And we'll begin to tell you what these parties have in store, what messages they are telling us, and what is it that will compel you to make that choice to vote. This morning, my guest will tell us more about what the NDC is doing by way of improving infrastructure and telling us more about job creation. He is a member of the communication team and also the youth member of the Greater Accra Region NDC. Lawyer Asiedu Dartey, my guest. Good morning.
Thank you.
Hope you're doing great.
I'm doing excellent.
Some few more days, and how is it like on the campaign trail ahead of December 7th?
It's more of a positive thing towards what you describe as home stretch to victory. We have no doubt at all that President John Dramani Mahama is winning the election. We do not have enough time to say we want to go into a second round of elections, so we are winning this election one touch. We are also maintaining parliamentary majority come the 7th of December. But now, what we have decided to do is to focus on the issue that matter to people, let people know what we have done, what we intend to do from 2017 to 2021. And President Mahama is very focused on these deliverables.
Yes. And that's exactly where the focus is.
Yes, yes. And once we go to the campaign trail, and the strategy we have adopted is to go to the people. Sometimes the convenient thing to do is to sit in a crowd and think and assume that this is what the people want. So you put up all these initiatives in Accra, and you go there and they say, no, what you think that maybe they need a good school, something. They will say that, you know, well, yes, we need a school, but our place of convenience is not good enough. So if you can put one out there for us, once you build a school, it's good. So the interaction with people, and I have had the opportunity of being on the campaign trail with the Chief of Staff from Volta region to Eastern region to Ashanti. We are doing Greater Accra. He had proud to being in Brona Hafo, and then was in the Upper West as well. The people are telling you a certain local needs. So you notice that in our manifesto, what we try to do, that from 2017 to 2021, there's a more localized focus, that this is what the people need. So that if they need borehole, you need to get them borehole, even whilst you are building the school for them.
Right.
And the result is so far so beautiful. We have had interactions with opinion leaders, we've had interaction with chiefs, and they are telling you their real needs, that this is what they want you to do. And obviously, when you go and you meet a chief and you are having an interaction, the way they speak to you already tells you that they have confidence that you will continue. And for that matter, they are putting their needs specifics before you, that do A, B, C, D for us. And in the case of President John Dramani Mahama, the trump card that he has is that people, when he promised infrastructure, the question people ask is, does he have a record? And they answer it by saying, you know what, Mr. President, the last time, and I recall very well, the Buri man in, when the president met him, he said, look, in 2012, when the president came, he spoke to him about the Buri Sawang road, that he should fix it for him. And today, the president has done it.
All right.
So the moment we tell people that we'll do A, B, C, D road, they are comfortable.
That you do it.
No, president promises.
We'll come to talk more about infrastructure, but let's look at in your party's attempt at winning the 2016 general elections, some of the impediments or obstacles that might affect your chances. For instance, people say that this Woyome thing could affect the NDC. Is that what you see?
No. And I say a very big no to it. First of all, it's important to say that this whole Woyome matter started in November 2011.
Right.
And if you recall, the attempt at resolving the process or this challenge came in different forms. Then President Mills then instructed the EOCO to investigate this matter, if you recall.
Right.
The EOCO, subsequent to that, criminal prosecution was initiated against Alfred Agbesi Woyome, notwithstanding the fact that there was an attempt at retrieving the money at the civil process. Now, if you recall, this government prosecuted Alfred Agbesi Woyome to the latter. The courts, and we all agree that the rule of law permits that if a court is minded that on the basis of the evidence, if it does not support the criminal charges against the person ought to be acquitted. At the end of the day, the court acquitted Alfred Agbesi Woyome. The government, again, was not satisfied with the acquittal and therefore appealed against the acquittal. The Court of Appeal, constituted by 3 justices of the Court of Appeal, again felt that the acquittal was proper in law and that the evidence supported the acquittal and therefore proceeded to, again, uphold his acquittal. At the civil end, if you recall, Martin Amidu took the initiative again to go to the Supreme Court to say that the payment to Alfred Agbesi Woyome were done on the basis of a purported contract. And that the contract, being one of an international business transaction, ought to have gone through parliamentary approval pursuant to Article 1815. Now, the failure to do that ought to be declared unconstitutional. The court said so, and therefore proceeded to order for a refund. Government, immediately after the court ordered for the refund, took the initiative, first of all, to enter entry of judgment against him, Alfred Agbesi Woyome, and also proceeded to execute the judgment by way of attaching his landed properties. Today, as we speak, Alfred Agbesi Woyome's properties, another or something holdings, has all been attached, except to say that there has been a certain roadblock. And that block is that some other people felt that they have interest in the properties. So they have filed what we call interpleaders at the various courts. So that's another issue that is being dealt with. And objective-minded people are beginning to see that these are real interventions.
That the government is committed to
this government is committed
retrieving
to,
the money.
because you see,
all right.
And the president had always made this point. The moment you believe in constitutional rule, the question of arbitrariness must come back. You must put it behind you. Once we've all agreed to this constitutional arrangement, you must follow to the latter. It's very inconvenient, but you must follow to the latter. And that is why I've always made the point. And I've heard people in the MPP say, oh, if Nana-Addo comes, you retrieve it. Unless, of course, Nana-Addo is coming to say that when he comes, you reinvent the CI-47 that we use, or the Supreme Court rules, or he's going to turn the Constitution upside down. Because remember that every legal intervention that you take, the other person has a right either to appeal it, go for a review, all of this intervention. And I want to believe that Nana-Addo, being a lawyer, will not want to do anything contrary to what the law says, but to go according to what the rule of law.
Let's come back.
It's very tedious, but that is how it ought to be. But this government is very focused, will not be distracted in getting this money back to the good people of Ghana.
Let's talk about infrastructure. You said the president has a record when it comes to infrastructure.
Beyond me saying it, in the various interactions by the president and under the umbrella of what you call accounting to the people, because the idea is that when people give you the mandate and you get that mandate and they commit certain resources to you, it is only proper that you come back to the people and say that this amount of resources that you gave to me, I've been able to do this, and this is what I'm accounting to you for. And that has its own biblical connection. You remember the parable of the talent, where the master gives all his servants a certain amount of talent. He goes, he comes back, and he begins to ask them, this amount, when I gave you, what did you use it for? So the president decided that the best thing to do is to get back to the good people of Ghana, the 10 regions of this country, the various constituencies, the various districts, the various communities, to interact with the people and ask them, the mandate you've given me, this need that you told me about, this is how far I have gone relative to this matter. So for instance, when the president went to Dodowa, he met the chiefs and people of Dodowa. And we realized that of the Dangbe-speaking areas, right from Ningo Pram or even Adan, right through Ningo Pram into Doyumo, right to Shai Osudoku, to Dodowa, Agomeda, Kodiabe, those areas. They don't have any serious health facility. So anytime there is a problem, they have to go to Etua Hospital near Somanya. That was too much for them. So we felt that the best thing to do was to get them a health facility. And within record, President Mahama had delivered a 120-bed hospital to the people in those areas, and they appreciate it. What it does is that the people doing the construction, at first you are creating direct job to them. And once you have this project, it also creates another community on its own. Beyond this, today as we speak, there are nurses who are working there. That's creating decent job for them. There are doctors who have to work, support staffs. So that is how you do it. Now, if you come back to Accra, President Mahama in the early days of 2013 cut a salt, for instance, for the circle interchange. The understanding by many was that it was not going to be possible. But President Mahama said, no, this is something that can be achieved. Today, as we speak, we have delivered the circle interchange. The benefit beyond the direct jobs as to the store vendors, the masons, all our other people who worked in doing that. And remember that they are not Togolese or Burkinabes. These are Ghanaians, artisans who were employed to do that job. So anytime you see that edifice, beyond the fact that it's a Brazilian company, what you also need to do is to applaud Ghanaian artisans for putting up that infrastructure.
Great.
Okay.
So based on these infrastructure, and of course it is not only Dodowa, we have the Ridge Hospital, we have the Legon one and others across the country. Yeah, the president wants people to look at him and renew his mandate based on that. I'm sure you know of the tape currently running where the president is said to have said, well, you can't compare infrastructure and say that I built 5, I built 10, and so based on that, vote for me. Now,
no. I think that the discussion by the president in 2008 ought to properly situate it. What the president in fact said, and you can listen to the audio.
Yeah, of course, I have tried to listen to it.
Is that the president did say that if you want records, at the NDC, we have been in power before. We have the record. So if you want the record, we want to go with the record with you. If you also want to look at the context in which you have developed a certain economy, we want to do that. The president never ran away from the record debate because that is how you measure performance. I'm sure that if you are here and whatever you're doing, at the end of the day, there must be a benchmark under which you'll be measured so that if you are asking the good people of Ghana, and I want to speak to the people in Dodowa, Kodiabe and others, that from 2001 to 2008, I knew the health center that was just around the district hospital in Dodowa. How many more hospital beds were added from 2001 to 2008? The people can relate to that. Why they had to run right from Dodowa to come to Accra for the same health facility is there for everybody to see. That's beyond that. So the president had always maintained that the record debate would always come, except to say that the NDC on any day would trump the NPP.
So he agrees to it.
That's for the record debate. He has always agreed. And in fact, if you listen to the tape and the context in which he spoke, he said, if it's the record, we will beat the NPP. And remember, he spoke when he was inaugurated at the National Theatre. Immediately when Professor Mills, said he was our candidate, he had to do a program at National Theatre. He said, look, if it's a record debate, let the NPP come. And the debate is a very simple one. We want the NPP to say, for instance, Ridge Hospital, which has its own colonial connection from Gadgetberg's time to the time when the NPP left. And if you recall, the then Minister of Health, in the person of Owusu Afriye, Dr. promised the staffs of Ridge Hospital that they were going to get them a standby generator. It became a brouhaha.
It was a big issue.
It was a big issue that it was on the high seas coming. I don't know whether it's arrived. But what is important today is that within a record period of 4 years, President John Dramani Mahama has added 417 beds to it.
I see.
That's the record.
So your opponent criticism that every government builds infrastructure is not something you're listening?
for the people...
It is your mandate to build infrastructure.
For the people of Ghana, and it's important to make this point. In 2008, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo wanted the people of Ghana to vote for him on the record of Kufuor, and that included infrastructure. So it is not open for the MPP today to discount the infrastructure debate. No, that will be a case of duplicity. If Ghanaians had voted for the MPP in 2008, it would have been, among other things, the record of Kufuor, which obviously would have included infrastructure. What President Mahama is simply saying is this. When the NDC came, we saw the Gang of Four projects. Ordinarily, one would believe that when you put such a capital-intensive, intensive project, you put out. So we do all the way, the Legon Medina end. Most of the jobs were left undone. We had to come and complete because we believe in continuity, and that is the record. And that record includes solid infrastructure record. And this infrastructure, like I made a point, are creating direct job to the people of Ghana.
Even before you go there, but you know that if we're talking about indicators of an economy that seem to be doing well, we cannot rely on infrastructure alone.
No, but
the macroeconomic
I'm coming there. I'm coming
okay.
there.
Right. So your critics say that the economy is in shambles, and yet you're talking about infrastructure.
I will explain the economics debate. If you read Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 in the Bible, what did God do first? He created the heavens and the earth. He didn't start by putting man in a void earth. He started putting a solid infrastructure in place. Because what infrastructure does in every economy is that it serves as a growth pole. So that the moment, because that private sector, so that you cannot be talking about golden age of business when businessmen are the ones building or doing roads, connecting electricity to their factories. No. That is for the public to do. So the moment you are investing in that, private people cannot have their money, put their, what do you call it, their factories. So for instance, if you are talking that you want to do, factories in every district, what you need first is to create the infrastructure, the road network, to create electricity access. And that's exactly what President John Dramani Mahama is doing. So when people, for instance, come and say change is coming, and you can see that change is happening. Look, somebody asked Nana, how do you intend to create jobs? He said, I'll do it through infrastructure. Because all over the world, the United States of America, with over 200 years of history, as late as their last presidential debates, they were talking about committing over $230 billion into infrastructure development. Do you know in the case of Ghana, we are already 10 years lagging in terms of our infrastructure development. So it's like what do you call a baton. The person who is supposed to take the relay, give it to you, had fallen. So you must go back, finish his unfinished race, and start yours. That is the situation where President Mahama finds himself.
So for you, the infrastructure is there.
It's a solid, you can't run away from it.
Is now about to take off.
No, so I think people made a point that the economy is now about to take off.
Because that's what your president has been telling us.
And he said that within
the leader of your party.
Yes, within the context that when the NDC came to power in 2009, we inherited a GDP growth, overall growth of about 35 billion Ghana cedis. Today, the economy had moved the GDP from 35 to over 133. Obviously, it's the productivity of Ghanaians that we are talking about. But you
inherited an economy better than what we are seeing today.
No.
That's what your critics are saying.
Our critics are saying that on the basis of what? Isn't it so interesting and ironical that the people
they talk about the indicators, interest rate, inflation,
they say
cost of the city,
cost of CD and what have you. But isn't it so interesting that the time that they claimed the economy was robust, the economy was resilient, we had to sell Ghana Telecom, obviously to balance the budget. And like our elders say, the moment somebody takes his pregnant sheep to the market for sale, remember that there are pregnant problems at home. It's the mark of desperation to sell a price asset in order to balance your budget. What happened to the 750 million euro?
But you are asking for a private management for ECG just because few dollars that will come into your coffers.
No.
Is that not the case?
No. The concession, the ECG concession has nothing to do with what you call the money that is coming. It's a more fundamental. So person owes this amount of bill, they can go and take this kind. And they believe that when they are able to resolve the issue of distribution losses and land losses and what have you, they can put ECG back. There are different interventions as to how to do that. Somebody believes that a more private person coming into it will be helpful. It has nothing whatsoever to do with MIDA. In any case, this is not the first time we are having the MCA money coming. We believe that for every economy to grow, the size or the capacity of the economy is a direct reflection of your energy capacity.